Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Cruel Angels podcast. We're going to be talking about episodes 5 and 6 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'm Brad, I'm a longtime Eva fan, joined by Pat.
Hi, I'm Pat. I haven't watched the show ever. This is my first time.
This is Pat's first time watching the show, and we have Kenzie here.
Hi, I'm not a fan.
She's not a fan. She regards the show with begrudging respect.
Yeah, it's artistically has a lot of respect. Aesthetically, no thank you.
Alright, so we're talking about episodes 5 and 6 this time. Rei 1 and Rei 2. So episode 5, I guess maybe 6 too, in some ways I think is kind of a culmination of what we've kind of learned up to this point. It's kind of, you can get a lot of payoffs to things that you've seen in the first 4 episodes. So starting with the beginning of episode 5, where we finally get to see what caused Rei to get in all those bandages in the first place.
Yeah, she is getting tested for Unit 00. Something goes horribly wrong. Like everything you can think of goes wrong. The unit goes berserk. She gets ejected and is like
bounced off the ceiling.
Yeah, and then you see a moment where Gendo Ikari, Shinji's garbage father, actually shows concern towards another human being, specifically Rei. No, not to his own son.
No, just to Rei.
But to Rei.
It's almost like he's nice to Rei just so in retrospect he'll be even meaner to his son.
Yeah, like it's just there like for him to like view, because there's that scene that comes up later.
So
he's just like, what? Why are they talking? Why does she look happy? Why does he look happy? Yeah, my note was, why does bad dad care more for not daughter than he does for actual son?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Gendo Ikari trying so hard for his not son. That was my note on that. I know that this is supposed to kind of be something like, oh, you're learning a little more about Shinji's dad and that he's not a total a-hole. No. If anything, I feel like this makes him look more like an a-hole because of how he treats his son.
He looks like a creep.
Yeah.
I think it makes him, I don't think it makes him seem less like an a-hole. It maybe makes him seem like more like a more realistic a-hole, right? Because like in real life, you know, people will act differently to different people and not necessarily in a fair way or anything like that.
I guess a-holes care about people too, just not their own kid.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like I don't think, like in his mind, I don't think there's a disconnect the way that the audience would see, like, wait, why do you care about this girl more than you care about your own son?
Like he was actually smiling, and so was Rei, who had shown almost no emotion at all.
Well, I mean, until now, you just see him sitting around, like, not moving and stuff like this.
His
like
face
the most
is covered.
Yeah, it's the most physical activity you've ever seen him do, which is like actually burning himself to go through opening that hatch for her and all that stuff.
Rei, are you okay?
He was actually like alarmed. But what I love about that scene is it's kind of like all the things we've learned slowly about the operations of how the Evas work. You get to see all that stuff go wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you've learned all this stuff about how Evas are supposed to work, they don't have to really stop and dwell. You just know right away that everything is wrong. So like we know that they get inserted in that little tube. So when we see it get shot out and fly across, we know that there's a pilot in there and like, oh shit, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
You know, we see it break out of that little gurney that holds it in place. All those little details that like, we've seen those things operate before and now we get to see one operate completely in the wrong way.
It was so well animated to watch that thing fly across the ceiling. Like that's how like
the metal scraping.
Yeah, well, like that's how like an air canister with like a like would do that. Mm-hmm. But what I thought was weird is you see the umbilical cord like come out, and like you mentioned, like before it hits the ground, it lets out like a jet of air to protect itself.
For some reason, like when I think back at Evangelion, like that's the thing I think about all the time. Is like when that thing drops right before it hits the ground, there's a little rocket boost so that it cushions its fall when it drops.
But the capsule with the cockpit does not have one of those.
I think the idea was like that's like the emergency ejection. So presumably they never thought that would happen in an enclosed space. They thought it would shoot out like a pilot ejecting from a plane or something like that.
Yeah.
You know? And with the umbilical cord, they expect that to be like to land just drop outside. It's an expensive piece of equipment. That's the thing that connects into the Eva and gives it the power. So it can't not break every time it disconnects.
Right. Well, because the little pill thing, when it shot out, it's like the rocket stayed on for a really long time. So I think the idea was it was supposed to get the pilot as far away from danger as possible. But since they were in that little stupid room, the little danger room, it just kind of smacked her around.
Yeah, no parachute, though, nothing.
Yeah.
Little danger room.
So that was pretty cool. The other thing, too, was seeing like the Eva in its berserk mode, but like more like it was like in pain or something like that. It was like clutching its head and like smashing the walls.
Well, like so what I got from that is it's like this is the second time we've seen one go berserk, even though this one's like a flashback. This is technically the first time it's happened, but it's in a contained room.
Yeah.
And it's trying to punch. It looks like he's deliberately trying to punch.
Attack the control room.
Yeah. Where Shinji's dad is.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'm like interpreting too much. It's punching at life, at least.
Right.
Like it knows there's something there.
It seems like somewhat intelligent that it's doing that and not just randomly punching things.
It maybe also understands that whatever it's going through, it's their fault.
Right.
Right. When Shinji's goes berserk in the second episode, it wails on the angel because that's directly what's in line with it. So I thought it's interesting that when it goes crazy, it's aiming to kill something.
Right.
It's not just thrashing about our empty room.
It could just be the case that what they call berserk is the Ava's now in control, and that's what the Ava would do if it was in control of itself, which is instantly start attacking whatever is causing it pain.
What a bad plan.
That's concerning.
This is a bad plan.
Let's have children control giant, weird
monsters,
bio-robots, who, if the children weren't in control, would destroy everything. Which is another thing, is when they were saying how Rei wasn't able to like connect with it or whatever, something about her mental instability, and then they go more about Inter-Rei, like everything about her is erased. Everything from the past, you know nothing about her. She's been wiped clean. And it's very reflected, I think, also in her character, where she acts as if she didn't have anything before all of this. Like, she didn't exist before she started working for NERV, because she doesn't have any real characteristics. She just went to school. Nobody talks to her. She doesn't talk to anybody. She doesn't show any emotion. The only thing we've even seen is her smiling at Gendo and then getting like mildly upset when Shinji's touching like the glasses when he enters her room.
Yeah, so we do see a little later in the episode, we get to see where Rei lives.
Which, by the way, she's not keeping, the upkeep is very poor.
Well, and what I noticed too is when they showed the outside shot of the apartment, you can see like the road next to it is all like ripped up. Like it's not a drivable road. So I get the impression this might have been the part of Tokyo or Japan that was damaged in the second impact and was never rebuilt. Like, it's not part of the new city.
Yeah.
It's just some crappy, shitty place from before the apocalypse.
Yeah.
And it's just like she lives there for some reason.
You feel like they would treat her better, I guess?
Like, why doesn't she just live at the NERV facility or something like
She's
that?
just like some weird shell human being.
Yeah.
It's very
and
weird.
It's just like her floors are dirty. She just has like bandages all over. Well, she had like a little plastic bag.
Yeah.
She like
plastic bag I saw.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Like a college student. Like,
God.
they just put their cans in there. But it seems like she only has one possession, and that one possession is Gendo's glasses from when he saved her.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing that's like a personality about her, was that she likes Shinji's dad. And I also I did notice that thing where they said her mental instability, and then later in the episode when she does have a successful test, she has the little glasses hanging there
on the side.
So it's like that's like the one thing I guess that tethers her to other people.
I guess Gendo's keeping her grounded,
and that's rough. That's the one thing.
That
humanity
because you see her when Shinji's looking, you can't hear what they're talking about. It's like prepping his Ava, and she gets out of it like excitedly,
and she's, like, animated,
and like kind of like like a kid. Like there's like a little bit of a bounce and sway.
Like she's happy to see him.
Yeah, she puts her hands behind her back and like smiling and like excitedly chatting.
That was really good like characterization, because I've always noticed in cartoons, especially anime, where they don't really tend to change the mouth shape. They just have the mouth open and closed.
Yeah.
When there's other dialogue going on over silence, it always seems like they're talking. And it didn't seem the case in that scene.
Yeah.
And also, so like you could, not only did it not do that annoying thing where like other dialogue you naturally put in their mouth, you could tell like the kind, like her personality and like what she was feeling all silently just by her body motions and stuff like that. It was really well done.
She looked like she was talking about her day.
Yeah.
Like, in which I can't imagine.
What would she be saying about her day?
Yeah. Oh, I sat by the pool and didn't hang out with anybody today. Like,
and I came over here and sat in this room.
And I was very excited to see you.
I saw your garbage son from across the floor.
He was looking at me. It was weird.
Yeah. So, one more thing I want to make a quick note of is like every time Shinji's like trying to figure Rei out, he's truly trying to figure out like, who is this girl? Why is she talking to my father? Why is my father talking to her? He doesn't even talk to me. And everyone's like, oh, you look at her Rei, huh? You like her boobs? You like her thighs? You like her face? And I'm like, no! Well, Shinji is...
he might that too, I mean.
He might, but that's not forefront.
Yeah.
He's just confused by her.
Yeah.
He's genuinely confused, and like everyone's initial reaction is just like, oh, I see how it is. You want to get with her, huh? And I'm like, can you back off? Like, please, this kid is trying to figure himself out. He doesn't need you guys putting more conflicting feelings into his head, thinking about like, oh, by the way, she's also got tibbies.
Well, I mean, you could understand why his school chums would assume that, but it's funny that Misato was also just like, "Oh, why are you staring at the picture of Rei so much? You know, what are you?"
Well, she's also drunk at the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Go play with your penguin. Well, what I thought was interesting is he's in her like apartment living quarters. It's a mess. All there is there's like no sign of like food,
right?
Like, but there's tons of
eats her bandages.
There's signs of just bloody bandages upon bloody bandages.
Yeah, her pillow is just covered in blood.
Pillow covered in blood. Above the bed there's like a mobile of socks drying, and then on her desk area is his dad's glasses, and then he tries them on for some reason. Turns around, she just got out of the shower, and she is not at all fazed by the fact that she's naked.
Right.
He's freaking out about it, which makes sense.
Concerned, like, why are you wearing those glasses?
Yeah, and then she gets mad that he's wearing the glasses. That is the only thing that you can tell that she's mad about. Because when he falls, and there's a big embarrassing mess, and he's on top of her, and she's naked, and his hand is on her boob, she doesn't give a shit. But he's freaking out about it. Right. What a vacant human being.
Yes, right. Very strange. And that scene holds for like longer than
Way longer than I want it to.
Them looking at each other, the hand on the boob. They're really trying to sell this shouldn't be a sexy moment. Like, because most animes, that's like the trope, right? Like
and I put this down too. How to get into the most awkward and lewd position ever. A book written by Shinji Ikari. And it's pushed lewd. Like, he could have just fallen on her. But the drawer of all of her underwear and bra stuff also flew out and is
there's like an explosion of underwear.
It is truly the most awkward positioning, and usually it's when the girl goes, "Yeah, pervert," and like smacks
Jesus
them.
Christ.
But she's just like, "Can you not?" Like,
not even that.
She's just like,
"Can you get up?"
Yeah. I think she was just like, "Can you get off me now?"
I think it's to show, because they made like a slight mention beforehand that she's kind of like inept in some stuff.
Right.
And this is it. This truly shows me where like anybody would be at least mildly embarrassed, but she's just like doesn't know really, I guess, like the situation, doesn't know, like, I don't want to say the right way to react, but what society expected her to react. So she's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. And then she just puts on her clothes while Shinji's awkwardly fumbling through dialogue, trying to be like...
Right. Well, it seems like, despite the fact that she was naked and Shinji was the one who left the scene embarrassed, you know what I mean? Like, she didn't seem to mind at all, really. Like, she just had no reaction. It kind of reminds me in a weird way of back at the beginning of the series, where there's like that scene, like the welcome to the apartment scene with Misato, where it's like, on paper, like in a normal show, this would be like the fun, like you meet the zany roommate and her penguin, but then it's just kind of sad because like she's just drunk and like it's clear that like it's really forced. So like in another anime, this would be the scene where it's like the fun pervy scene, you know, where he gets to like accidentally bump into a girl and she gets embarrassed, like you said, and like slaps him. But it's like shot in a way that they really want you to be like, no, this is just weird and you should feel bad. And Shinji should feel bad and everyone should feel bad.
This is weird and awkward and Rei doesn't care.
Right. Well, and then, you know, of course the slap doesn't happen there, but then it happens later in the episode. It's kind of like a delayed slap that you're kind of like waiting for that to happen at some point.
Yeah, but it was because he didn't have faith in his dad, which I don't blame him.
The one thing, but that's like the one thing that Rei cares about.
Is
right? Right.
You can break into my house. You can push me on the ground. You can touch my tibby. But don't you dare talk shit about your daddy-o.
Yeah.
And I think I made a comment somewhere in my notes. Smacks Shinji for not believing in daddy.
My note for that was, I don't understand any of these characters and their reasons and motivations, and I'm beginning to accept that I never will.
I can understand, like, I guess, Rei's reasoning, because, like, Gendo goes out of his way to try and save her and burns his hands to get her out of the pod and stuff, so now she's got, I want to say, like, this undying respect for him.
Yeah.
I guess we have to think of in the same way that, like, in Shinji's life, like, Misato's the only one that showed him, like, a shred of kindness.
Yeah.
So he kind of held on to that time he was going to leave. For Rei, it's like, that person must be Gendo. But it wasn't just a shred of kindness, it was like this kind of gallant act, just like that one time, of concern for her.
Well, not only that, but like it also continues, because not only does he show concern for her in that one moment.
Yeah, they seem to actually have a relationship.
They're talking like they're chums, like, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, just good, just trying to sync up with the Ava, you know?
Well, what's interesting is, I just thought of this now, that also like further pushes the first episode, that pulling her out, like when she was like in bad shape was definitely just an act.
Oh,
it's just totally a ploy.
Because he wasn't going to put her.
There's no way. Like now that you know how they are. He wasn't going to do that.
Definitely,
he did it to get to his kid.
That's enough. Yeah, he goes and he tries Shinji first, like the son who he hasn't connected with in years. He's like, let's at least try and see if this kid works out before we do Rei, because hasn't she been through enough?
Yeah,
and I don't want to say I respect him for that.
Yeah.
But that's like...
But, I mean, again, coming back to,
it's a flawed plan.
It's really, like, the fact that Gendo has this one relationship with someone, going back to the fact that doesn't really redeem him, like, part of why he gets along with Rei so well might just be because Rei just does whatever he wants and doesn't complain and is completely like his little puppet.
I also think they're both awkward and they can relate to each other. Like, hey, you can't really talk to your son. I can't really talk to people.
But does Gendo have a problem with the fact that he can't talk to his son? Like, it doesn't seem to bother him that much. Like,
You're not wrong.
Shinji's always like, oh man, I wish I could talk to my father. I don't think Gendo's up at night like, man, how do I broach this subject with Shinji?
How do I connect with my son?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get anything because like the interactions we've seen between Rei and Shinji have not been negative. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't even say they're anything.
Right.
Because there was that one time where he was on the ground, he just got beat up. It was like episode 3 or 4.
Yeah, right. And she's just like, she's like, let's go to base.
Hey, we have to go to base. Like almost like happy-ish. Like, hey, person I work with, like we got to get going. Mm-hmm. And doesn't help him up. So there's obviously like she's weird.
It's
but,
not
like,
even
it's
happy-ish.
So deep.
It's the way she states it. It's like a fact. Things that she states are a fact, and it's further pushed in episode 6, where like I don't want to skip over to it, but she's
we're almost there.
Yeah, we're almost there. I guess I'll go cut to it where like when she's talking with Shinji, she's stating facts like we have to get out of here by this time. Yeah, well, we have to be here by this time.
She even says that that's all she has is probably in the Ava.
Yeah,
and she seems like she means it in a literal way, not like, oh, this is the only thing that matters in my life. It's more like this literally is my life. I just pilot this thing. What else am I going to do with my life? She doesn't seem to have any other interests or...
I feel like she just states facts with Shinji, so she's like, get up, we gotta go. It's not like positive or negative, it's like, this is a thing we have to do, these are orders, and we're gonna go follow them. Yeah, I'm gonna follow them like a good little blue-haired noodle.
But like, then they prep to go fight.
Yeah.
This new angel, this weird cube.
Yeah, so this angel shows up.
This is before the prep part. It's just Shinji going at first. And we got... big old blue diamond.
Yeah. Well, they get literally a diamond that makes like a high pitched noise.
What I don't get is they get Rei prepped and they're like, "Hey, cool. Your Ava's not gonna freak out and show the digital plugs unplug again." What? It's a cool animation. But like, it worked. All right. An angel's coming. We're gonna turn you down. Yeah, and it's like, why? She's ready. Well, get her out there.
I guess Shinji at this point has a proven record of being able to defeat angels. So
does he though? Because everyone bitches about it when he does it.
Yeah, well, he's still. I mean, he's got that. They showed it.
He's got like a higher sync rate with his ratio than
Yet no one wants to give him any slack.
Yeah, no. I mean,
I don't understand.
They just don't like that kid.
So if they don't like it, well, I don't understand. That's not a reason. That is, look. I know I have not finished it yet, but I have no reason to hate this kid. He's been completely justified in everything.
No, I agree.
So far.
Yeah, I don't think that he's particularly... I mean, I think he is whiny, but I think his whining is justified.
Yeah, right? He's as whiny as a kid in this situation. I think he's
less whiny than a kid would be in this. I mean, like, a lot of the time we spend with him in the show where he's being all mopey, the other characters don't necessarily see that. You know what I mean? They don't see him sitting around riding the train, listening to his song like all day.
Listening to his emo music.
For the most part, he seems like he does what they say a lot, and they still don't seem to respect him for that. So.
Yeah, I don't get it. Because like they're like, okay, time to go fight this new one, and all of a sudden there's no pushback. He's just in it. He's ready to go. Like, all right, this is what I'm here for. Let's get to it.
And then the thing's going up.
Elevator opens, and he's immediately shot. Misato, and they're like, dodge! What do you mean?
Another request of the impossible for Shinji. Dodging when he just got up there. He doesn't know what's going on. He gets shot in the chest.
I mean, at least she wasn't like upset at him for not being able to. This time. That idiot.
I will say, the Baka count for these 2 episodes is 0.
Yeah, right.
And no one gave him a hard time. Yeah. They even what's a scuba dive girl name?
Oh, Risco. Yeah, she behaved herself.
She was nice.
Time, right? Yeah,
she was nice. They were over for dinner.
They kind of bonded over the fact Misato is a terrible cook.
Yeah, we saw the penguin die. Kind of, not really. Yeah, it was weird. Like, out of character. So it's like when people are not working, are they nice different people?
Well, I mean, I think that's somewhat believable, like in real life.
Yeah.
People, compartmentalize like your work experience versus like, in your off time. I also think like, as far as this show goes, not like in terms of like normal standards, these episodes, things were running pretty smoothly at NERV, right? Like the robots were actually activating properly. There's actually 2 robots fighting at the same time, which hasn't happened before yet. The plans that they come up with, which we'll get into a little bit later, were all pretty elaborate and they all seem to be working together. So this is like NERV running as much as a well-oiled machine as it can. So maybe everyone's a little bit in a better mood, As
we learn in the next episode, it's the highest percentages we've ever seen of success.
Right. Well, actually, yeah, right, exactly.
So, I mean, we can go on. Like, the episode literally ends with him getting shot.
Yeah, right. So
I want to make a quick note before we get into the second episode.
Yeah.
Because we watched the whole thing. We watched the opening. We watched the ending. And then we watched, like, the to be continued bit.
The teaser bit?
The teaser bit. The teaser bit led me to believe that, like, Shinji's whining. He's using his injuries as an excuse.
Yeah,
and I expected that to be a big thing. I'm like, Shinji's gonna make a whole big deal. He doesn't.
No.
But I expected, like, a lot of the characters to be like, Shinji, just get in the robot. But they didn't. That didn't happen. And I was happy about that.
And it's kind of interesting because, and we'll see as we keep on watching the series how it progresses, but I have a feeling that people remember the series with more whining Shinji than there actually is in the series. Like, somehow that stands out as his characteristic.
But even, like the show itself, the to be continued part,
right.
It's like, Shinji's gonna be a little bitch and whine.
my interpretation of that teaser was Shinji survives, and it looks like the penguin's gonna step up and save the day.
Oh, yeah, the penguin had a heroic...
he had a heroic pose.
Yeah, right.
It was really weird. Like, what's that? Right? What's he gonna do? Does he have an Eva? Oh, sick!
And then we go into the second episode where we start up again of Shinji getting sniped. They bring him back underground immediately.
Yeah.
That didn't work.
Goes up, blam. All right, bring him back down. There was no reaction. Like, it was the same exact shot of him getting hit, and then all of a sudden you just see it coming down.
Right.
Like, oh, wow.
Yeah, that didn't work at all.
Oh, fuck.
I mean, I'm glad they didn't keep him up there to try and
I guess they did. At that point,
least.
they didn't even know that angel would shoot beams. All they knew about it was that it was like a diamond and it was drilling down, right?
Yeah.
So he was probably just up there to kind of check it out and see what it's like, and then suddenly it just shoots him.
Well, then there's not really a montage, but some quick shots of them testing it. What's it gonna do?
Yeah.
And they get the balloon replica.
A very elaborate balloon.
Perfect balloon replica.
Yeah, it didn't look inflated.
Yeah, it didn't look like... You know what balloons look like during, the Macy Day parade and stuff like that. But it legitimately just, full-scale model, detail-wise, it looked... perfect. It didn't look like a balloon version. It looked like a version. And
I assume they had that ready to go too, just in case they would ever need one.
You need a description: replica balloon 1-to-1 ratio.
Right, or you wouldn't know what was happening.
Yeah, because I would have been confused, which I still was.
Where do they get the second Ava?
So they blow it up, and they're like, all right, bring out that rail cannon.
Yeah.
All right, rail cannon's gone. I know what to do.
Yeah.
It's like, do you?
It's like,
why didn't you do this
we
before?
We just wasted $3 billion. Now I know what to do.
Yeah, but it's like, why didn't you test this before throwing Shinji out there?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's just their initial reation is angels attacking, deploying.
Go get it.
Well, yeah, right. And then they're like, oh shit, I guess we have to rethink
during
this.
The first 2 angel attacks we saw, they did try the army stuff on it at first.
Yeah,
and that wasted billions of dollars, and then they sent out the Ava. So this time they were like, let's just send out the Ava. And they do, and then he gets shot, and they're like, now we gotta go and do the military stuff. Their first tactic never seems to work.
Well, it just goes back to
Either way, they're wasting billions of dollars.
Yeah, it just goes back to that fact that, again, despite all the technology involved and, everyone presumably is a smart scientist or something like that, they're all kind of just making it up as they go along, right? It's the Ava beat it the last 2 times, so let's just go with that. And then they were completely caught off guard that, oh, wait, no, that's not going to work this time.
Sure, but what was really confusing is this one looked different. I don't know what the first 2 look like. I mean... I don't know if there's going to be a super flashback episode, but we only know what 3, 4, and now 5
Right. They at least seem more biological, like a creature.
This thing looks like a machine.
A geometric shape.
Yeah. So I would immediately be like, what is happening?
Yeah, number 3, I call Big Owl because of his face. He had a weird, owl or plague doctor.
Oh yeah, it was a little skull,
and then the second one was a big tentacle monster. It was a big snake tentacle thing. It was the big penis. Yeah,
I forgot what it looked like. Honestly,
you reminded me when he said big penis. That's
what it looked like.
It is. And in this one, now we got a diamond, and it's like, what the hell did the first 2 look like?
Yeah, one's a giant foot. The other one looked like a bug.
This one's a giant gun.
So So then you see him getting rushed to the infirmary.
Yeah. And then Misato, they try out the other stuff, and then Misato has a brain blast, and it's like, this is going to work.
Well, I like that Misato was like there, like beside him as far as she could go.
Right. It was almost like she did her version of the Gendo thing. It wasn't like she ran over there and opened up his pod, but she was following him the whole way
until she couldn't.
Be there
and she had no reason to be there other than she was concerned about him. She wasn't helping bring him to life. And then so that showed that she actually has feelings for him.
Yeah, and it's nice, and it was nice to see that instead of it being like that idiot, like which I was expecting. Yeah, honestly, like I was expecting her to rush down there, and while he's like semi-conscious, to be like, "You fool,
Shinji baka."
Yeah, right. But it didn't happen. Then they did the whole testing thing. She had her idea, and it all got okayed. And then it shows Shinji like wake up, and Rei's there to like give him the food and then a debrief.
Yes.
And I was expecting to have some sort of connection there. I know we get one later,
right? But I was still all business at that point.
Yeah, but I was expecting her to be like, "Oh, I've been there."
I think she even was like, don't look like crap when you show up.
Yeah.
She make a little snarky.
It's like, bitch, did you see how bad you looked?
For her, that was her attempt to try to connect with him, because that was the one thing she said that wasn't, like you said, completely just information effect.
Yeah.
So maybe that was like, that's banter, right? That's what humans do.
Humans banter, right?
I don't get it. And then he has like, do I really gotta do this? And she's like, yeah.
Yeah, duh.
Like, fool.
It's here in the book. You gotta do it.
I have this absurdly tiny book I'm reading from. I don't know. I mean, they do sort of have a human connection at the end, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so distant.
Yeah.
Like, everybody was just so distant.
I mean, this show is made up of people who seem to have no social skills whatsoever. And unfortunately for Shinji, most of people handle it by being super aggressive, whereas he at least keeps to himself, and everyone else just takes it out on him.
Shinji's he's a beta. and everyone in this place is like an alpha. Yeah. He's just like,
So, as far as I understand, it's safe to assume that his dad is the one making every single call.
Mm-hmm. Or at least he's the top of the...
Yeah, or at least okays everything.
Right. Because even Misato, even though like most of episode 6 was Misato executing her plan,
and
there was that scene where she's like in Shinji's dad's ridiculously large office. She was standing so far away. Yeah.
Yelling. Yeah. Even our audio was like a bit higher. Like definitely like, can you hear me over there?
Yeah, right.
Like,
this is my plan.
Yeah. And it's like, wow, how impersonal.
Yeah.
Well, I like this part because you actually get to see what the hell Misato does, because
like why is she in charge?
Yeah, because
a tactician.
Yeah. Well, for the first 4 episodes, I'm like, why is she there other than to be Shinji's life raft? Because she's just standing around being like, it's an angel. And Gendo had Gendo had been making the calls, but then you see her have a brain blast, be like, this has like a 8.7 chance % of going, and Gendo's like, do it, and she's like, we're gonna take this experimental gun looking thing, turn it into a rifle, use all the power from Japan, we're gonna get both Avas working, we're gonna get this done by midnight. And I'm like, what? And then it all happens, and they think of everything in that short time span. They think of like the cooling units, which is the thing we kept talking about, because they have to take all of that energy. They also thought of bringing in cooling units and stuff like that to make sure that it doesn't overload. Like, it's such like a minor detail. You didn't need to add that in, but you did, and it made it feel that more real.
Yeah, I really liked what they chose to... So, a lot of the episode is a montage of Misato, like, getting shit done.
Yeah.
And I really liked the things that they showed her having to do. So some of it was coming up with this crazy plan. Some of it was like filing documents and things like that, like going through the bureaucracy and the red tape.
I can now confiscate this weapon.
So it's kind of just like she has this kind of like way of like handling all those details, the execution of it and like taking command. And it's, again, kind of like what I was saying before about these episodes being a culmination of things we've seen before. It's like now you get to see how her kind of reckless, out of control personality, when it's working to their advantage, how it can work. So it's like she's probably the only person who would come up with such a ridiculous plan, who would think that 8% is like at a ridiculously high level of success rate.
To be fair, everything else so far
was like below 1%.
It was below 1. Like there was that one, like the chance of it activating Unit 1 is like 0.000000001. And I'm like,
while Shinji's reading a book.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Shinji's kind of
giant hand behind it. Yeah, right.
What is a NERV?
And like, and for this plan too, I guess it's true for all the plans in a way, but especially for this plan when they had definitely lots of prep time. Like there was a countdown the whole time. There was no backup plan. There was no like, oh, and if this doesn't work, then we need to really evacuate everybody or something like that. It was just like, this is the plan. We've got an 8% chance of it working. Case closed.
It really came down to the wire, too, because, like, not to jump too far ahead, but when you see the sniper shot and it misses because the angel, like, reacted.
Yeah, it did some kind of, like, counter beam or something.
Yeah, it's like the beams pushed each other away a bit.
They're both too powerful for each other. There had to be some sort of force.
Yeah, the Dragon Ball effect.
I could totally believe
the second that happens, it's like that was supposed to be the shot that hits it. Yeah. The second it misses, it penetrates through. It's like, man, you really went down to the wire on this. Yeah. That was going to be you stopping it just in time. But again,
based on the usual percentages they work with, that was like plenty of, that was like, oh yeah, perfect. Works out perfectly.
But what I was getting at though before with Gendo is like, he's in charge. The second his son woke up, it's like, all right, let's get this plan going, huh? But like, when Rei was like decommissioned, she was out for weeks.
Yeah, right.
It's like, what a dick.
I think it's because she was actually physically injured. Right. So,
he wasn't. He wasn't. They actually say that he wasn't physically.
Yeah, right. Shinji was like fine. You see his like mentally, maybe body. Not, but physically is okay. And then Rei, like, not only do you see her broken, bruised, and bandaged in episode 1, but like you go to her house and you see all the blood and bandages all over the place. So, like, she was really hurt.
Based on the level of detail in the show, I bet you could probably track her appearances from the first episode to now and see like her bandages become less.
Less and less, probably.
Over time,
Yeah, so then they prep, they have the whole plan. Mm-hmm. Then they have like a talk before they execute the plan, and she's like, I have nothing to live for.
Yeah, right.
Goodbye.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because Shinji basically, there's lots of scenes where you get the impression that like everything is insane, and Shinji is just reacting as a normal person would in a completely insane situation. Yeah. So even as a viewer, we're watching a TV show and we're like, come on, be the hero. It's like, how else would you expect anyone to react in a situation where everyone around you is acting completely not in the way you would expect anyone to?
Insane.
And the stakes are so high. And he literally just woke up like an hour before the mission started. And they're just like, okay, get ready to go. Don't look so shitty when you show up. Let's do it.
Well, here's the thing. In this episode, I did find myself being like, Shinji, just do it. Because I knew he was going to be like, do I have to pilot that thing? And I only felt that way because before Shinji wakes up, you see Misato doing all this crazy stuff, like getting the gun, having it built.
Yeah, putting in the work.
Documents, putting everything to work for this plan. She has so much confidence in her plan. So at that point when Shinji woke up, I'm like, Shinji, please don't make a big deal out of this. Just go and do it because I feel like it's going to be fine because Misato looks like she has her shit together. Do not be the weak link in this.
Yeah, right. But I mean, besides him asking Rei that question, as far as anyone else knows, he never had any doubts about the mission.
You don't see him get into it.
Misato briefing them, and they're just going like, hi. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't know that he had any doubts.
While she's briefing them,
he did a good job.
And I wrote this part down. Misato's like, be precise with the curve of the earth and gravity, and Shinji's like, we didn't practice this.
And then she's like, just wait for it to line up and shoot.
Yeah, that thing.
I like how she said that. It's like, be prepared and understand that all these things are factors. And then he freaks out, and she goes, no. Just wait for the circle and the triangle to line up and pull the trigger as soon as it does. Like,
when the circle and the triangle connect, that's when you go, kid.
Hi. So yeah, then they go out and they do it. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily work correctly. Yeah, but it was still part of the plan because she had that big old shield. Like, yeah, right. They were ready.
They said it was like they used a part from a giant like other vehicle,
like rocket or whatever.
Yeah, as like a makeshift shield. So they had the chance to do a second shot, and then that's the one that did it.
Yeah, and that was probably the most. Honestly, it was the most competent all of them have been in fighting an angel, and the most planning that actually went correctly, because they had in mind what happens if the first shot fails. Well, then she comes out and defends you and you take a second shot. And that's how it went. They didn't plan on what a third shot would look like.
Right. I guess there is no third shot at that point, right?
And at that point, because like that shield would have been completely blown away. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting to see that they were all competent. They all did their job. No one insulted anybody, and everybody lived. Yeah,
and not only that, but like Shinji does, I want to say metaphorically because it's not that literal. Shinji does the same. It's literal and not literal. Shinji does the same thing where like Rei's like suit is overheating and her pod comes out, and like you can see like the melted armor of his melted hand of the Eva unit holding like the pod, and then Shinji's also opening it. His hands are getting nearly as burned as Gendo's did.
Yeah, because he has a suit on.
Yeah, he's got a suit, and it's probably like a little bit cooled off, where Gendo's almost down there immediately. So Shinji's like doing the exact same thing.
Yeah,
and then like
it's definitely
Rei
meant to mirror it. And I think this is then he has that little interaction with Rei there, where he like asks her to smile.
And Rei's like, I see a little bit of Gendo in him. I'm gonna smile.
Yeah.
Well,
not only that, like he asks her to smile or something. Like it's like this is a situation where Shinji's interacted with his classmates before.
Yeah.
But I think this is the first situation where Shinji is at a level of, I don't know, personal growth at a way where he can,
like leveled up.
Yeah, like I put in my notes, Shinji levels up. Like he's able to make someone else smile. Like he's at a level where it's not people taking care of him. Now he can actually be concerned about another person. I feel like that's a big breakthrough for little Shinji.
Shinji opens and saves Rei the similar way his dad did. Gives mini heartfelt speech and cries. Rei's like, and then Shinji's like, just smile. And then it did a little smiley emoji.
I really liked. So you said it's like not exactly the same as Gendo did with her. I think it's better because it physically shows him tear it off.
Yeah.
And then pull her out. And then like the similar situation of the Ava's hand is burned, much like how his dad's hand was. But then he physically opens it up and physically makes sure she's okay.
Well, that's what Gendo did too in the first one.
Yeah, but I think it was a safer thing rather than launching her out and smashing her about.
No, yeah, he did the not launchy, like she didn't shoot out of the pod and he had to like catch her or something.
Yeah, I'd like to see them have at least a bit more camaraderie. Yeah. Between each other. I have no expectation of romance in this. It does not seem to be that sort of show because there's already been opportunities where that would fit in and it never happened.
Well, another thing is, I don't think it's like right to fit in. Like society is expecting the romance, but the reality is the romance is not happening at all.
And that's fine. I'm not even expecting them to be friends. I would just like to see them have like we've both been through some shit, huh?
Teamwork makes a dream work.
Like I feel like that moment at the end kind of was that because it's like, maybe Misato and Ritsuko were like listening in to or something, but essentially it was a chance for the two pilots to bond over the fact that they were the ones in this dangerous situation. You know, they're the same age. There was a sense with that they were talking to each other as equals, which I don't think happens to Shinji that much.
That's all I want.
It's always like people yelling at him and him reacting to people yelling at him. And this was, I felt like an actual connection. Even with Misato, who actually cares about him, they're still not on the same level. You know what I mean? Misato's still someone who's older than him, who's an authority figure. This is someone who he can relate to exactly as a peer.
Yeah, and that's all I want for Shinji's character. I don't want him to have more friends. I'm not like pining away for it. Like, I hope they become friends. Like, I'm not like, if that happens in the show, that's cool. But he needs somebody that like is in the shit with him and understands like, this is hard. Like, I'm fine with Rei being like, no, you just do it. Yeah. Like, because that's her character. But if there's somebody that, like, Shinji can look at and be like, okay, just do it. And then her to be like, yeah, I get it. We're both going through some shit, but we have to do it. Like, and like seeing them as peers. I like that. And that's kind of what I've been longing for this show. Because it looked like no one was connecting with him or understanding. I could be off base. Next episode, Rei could just totally not give a shit about him. But like, the end of that episode... The end of the episode just made me feel like it could work. 2014.
No, I know
you.
A woman to smile.
Oh my god, that's right. It does say like 2014.
It says 2014 on the thing.
And you made a comment like, "This is in the past."
Did this happen? I missed out. Is this a documentary?
Oh god.
But yeah, I was actually really pleased with how that episode ended because I was pissed off a bit with how Rei was like acting on the escalator scene when she like smacked him. I'm like, this dude has every right to not like trust his dad. I understand that you've been through some things, but you don't talk about those things. Right. Like, how is he supposed to understand where you're coming from?
But I guess that's how Shinji makes friends. Someone has to physically abuse him first. Yeah. No, but like, in seriousness though, like, I feel like, like, that's the start of a relationship with someone is maybe it's like that awkward encounter. Maybe you're not always grabbing their boob. But, it could start with a misunderstanding or some friction before it becomes a better relationship with that person. Well, you know what I mean? Like, even that is more of a relationship than what he had with Rei before.
I like that Shinji seems to get hit before actually making friends.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised Rei didn't go, hit me back. We'll become friends now.
And then, because I know what Rei's about, I can understand her blankness, her nothingness, the everything about her.
What'd you call her before? Unsalted cracker.
Yeah, she's the unsalted cracker. Like, there's literally, like, everything about her that would have made her, like, a person has been erased. And I don't know how they managed to accomplish that. But she's the unsalted cracker. Like, this is, like, a true, like, new beginning for Rei. Even, like, all her past is gone, so for us, the audience, there's nothing we can relate to.
Yeah.
So she is that unsalted cracker. Now I just gotta find some peanut butter or something to put on it.
Shinji's not peanut butter.
He's not peanut butter.
He's salt for the unsalted cracker.
There you go.
More salt.
Salt from his tears.
Oh, God. I don't remember too much about what happens with Rei other than the unsalted cracker part, so I'm excited for her development. But I also feel like her development's gonna get stunted because in a few episodes, we're gonna have Asuka come in and take the fucking reins.
We're about to see Kenzie's arc nemesis.
Oh!
So, I mean, I think, like I said, I feel like Shinji kind of leveled up by the end of episode 6. He's kind of stepped into, he's kind
if
of...
we could just take Asuka out. Just have Shinji and Rei.
But I feel like Asuka, when she comes in, not to get too far ahead, but she's like level 2. She's like the next thing he has to deal with that's going to be way more difficult.
I guess, yeah.
Than the relationships he has
You can't... Now, you've made friends with an unsalted cracker.
Yeah, it's almost like Rei's the easy one to make friends with. She, like, doesn't care if you see her naked,
Can you make friends with a spicy pot of kimchi soup? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. But anyway, so this episode ends kind of like Pat said, like with like essentially like a happy ending for as far as this show goes.
Yeah, this is the happiest.
Mission was accomplished. People are starting to get along with each other. No one's calling me an idiot. And I would say, I feel like the fact that everyone shitted on him and like everything's been pain in his life up till now makes that ending kind of like resonate a little bit better, right? Like if this was like a show of even like a normal level of highs and lows, it wouldn't really matter as much. Like their little scene together, it might seem a little bit kind of like eye-rolly, like overly sentimental. But you kind of feel good for him, right? Because it's like, well, he's never even had this kind of interaction before.
Yeah.
I also feel like it's cemented the 2 episodes per mini arc, I guess, because things seem to happen and resolve themselves within 2 episodes.
It does seem to be, yeah, these episodes are definitely very Rei focused. You kind of got to see the full spectrum of Rei.
It's lining up well. There's not like that one episode that like
that just leaves
throws you off kilter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we have yet to be left on like a cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's true.
And like the cliffhanger that we are left on is resolved
in the second episode that we watch. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's working out pretty good. A few other things about the episode I guess we could talk about, like kind of going back to what we always kind of bring up in these episodes is all those like little details, like what they chose to show about the plan. Like they put an effort to show all those vehicles like lined up, like connected with each other, like going up the hill.
My favorite part is like the transport of the experimental weapon they've been working on. She's like, "Don't worry about it," and then Rei's like popping
lifts
the roof
off the roof. Yeah,
with the Ava unit and is grabbing the gun. And I'm like, that's that's like fun. That's,
I also like
good.
how later on they had renamed it. It was called like the Ava rifle, and then it said in parentheses like formerly the experimental blah blah rifle.
Oh god,
like, they just took the time for a second to come up with a new name for it. But I feel like it's kind of a metaphor for, like we said, this is like the one episode so far where people have more or less got along.
Yeah.
And kind of come together. In some ways, it's like the whole country came together, right? Because like everyone had to work together to get all those power things hooked up.
Oh yeah, and all of Japan had to lose power.
Yeah, you got to see literally like the whole country kind of black out, and like all that power went to Shinji to shoot his little beam. It's kind of like, this is what we can accomplish if we weren't such assholes to each other all the time, right?
The show is very good at showing a lot of like behind the scenes stuff without, it shows you just enough that you don't question it, because it's like, no, all this makes sense. Like, shut down all the power in Japan to shoot this big gun. It's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I really liked watching the scene where they're on the rooftop of the school, like Shinji's friends, and you see like the trees like sort of slide out of the way, and there's a bunker. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Like, there's probably several, like how there's like hidden nuclear missiles probably all over the country. It's interesting to see like, oh, like these are different ports that they could pop up, because we saw like he popped up in whatever episode it was, the one where he's like, he was ready to come out fighting. It's like he came out of that elevator, and there was like a docking station.
Yeah. It's like opened up.
And he came out of that. Then in this one, it was like close to the water, and just the Ava came out. There was no like shell for it. And then this one comes out of the...
So presumably they have all sorts of little ports around the city that he can pop out in different spots.
So from a standpoint of like, oh, that's so convenient, it feels like realized. It feels like this was heavily like militarized, and it makes sense. So like, if there's ever a situation, it's like, we gotta attack him from over there, I'd assume there's a bunker over there.
And it would be so easy for them just to start the scene and they're already above ground in position or something like that.
Yeah, but they wanted to establish it.
Where it's like, no, this little mountain opens up and you can come out of it there. And also, it was cool to see his friends there. It was kind of, again, it goes back to the thing where, like, everyone's actually working together now.
It also made me maybe hate NERV a little less, because what we've seen them do so far is they've put everything on, like, one kid piloting an Ava with, like, 0 odds and just, like, praying it works, but this one plan actually shows a lot of time, consideration, and planning, and thinking ahead about, like, potential consequences that could happen, so they have to have, like, once again, we're gonna go back to those stupid cooling things, because that just makes
No, it's a cool detail.
Yeah, it was a good detail, good enough that it made me feel like they're actually thinking ahead of time, and they're not just gonna, like, scorch everything.
Well, yeah, the show keeps on wanting to remind you that these things that they're coming up with are, like, brand new things. And it's not like, oh yeah, we have a system in place to take all the power from Japan. They want to show you how much effort they had to come up with to make this plan work.
So it makes me feel like NERV is more competent than what I was led on to believe. They're still having 14-year-olds pilot these monsters that will go berserk and kill things in front of them. I'm not a huge fan of that, but when they're not having 14-year-olds pilot monsters, they're actually getting shit done.
I feel like it's both. I feel like it's still the fact that, like, the normal military would not come up with such a plan that was this ridiculous and crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
So for me, it's less that, it shows that NERV is competent, and more that it shows why there might actually be an advantage to having such crazy people given this much power. Like, when the situation is that dire, when everything's on the line, maybe the only option is to put civilization in the hands of people who will come up with these plans that most people would just dismiss as impossible.
I like semi want some of their plans to backfire on them, because, like, it's just so gosh darn stupid that, like, why? And it hurts me every time they end up working. So, like, well, let's just grab this 14-year-old off the street to pilot the thing. It goes berserk, but they still win. Let's grab this 14-year-old to pilot the thing again and fight this noodle armor. Nope, we want you to retreat, but he beats it, so it still ended up working. Now we're gonna have 2 14-year-olds, one firing something that has to align with the
curvature of the Earth and of gravity.
Yeah, and then another one with a shield that might work
for 17 seconds or so.
Yeah.
They said a very low number of that thing can only withstand it for so long.
Yeah.
You physically see it melting.
The plans are so absurd and insane and they shouldn't work, but they show so much in the show that makes me believe that it did work because of all the planning and preparation and how everything is built. The world building in this show is beyond excellent. Like, it has me believing the craziest stuff can happen because they put so much logic behind all the crazy stuff happening.
Right.
And I'm just accepting all of it. I'm still here getting mad about it because, like, if I take a step back and I say the things about 14-year-olds piloting stuff, it makes the plans look stupid. But then when I get immersed into this world, I'm like, yeah, a 14-year-old can do anything.
I'm still, like, waiting for certain things, and maybe I'm never going to get them, but, like, I've had, like, an expectation based off of the first 2 episodes that I want to see things, like, come full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're given, like, mini, like, not necessarily mysteries, but, like, mini plot things, and they get sort of answered, like, why is Rei the way she is? Oh, we get a little bit of her background, and we kind of, like, hear through passing conversation of why she's the way she is. I want to know more about the Ava units.
Yeah.
Because they keep showing, like, oh, it has fingers. Oh, it has skin. It has eyes.
This time you really saw one kind of, like, the way it was clutching its head and stuff like that. I think you said early on, you got the impression that they were kind of felt like they were tortured.
Oh,
yeah, it's like were these created things that are then mind controlled, or did they find these things? Like, imagine like a kaiju that they like found, or like are these angels that they managed to reprogram? Like, I want to know more. Which is great that they're not giving it all away, but I want like more like seeds planted, like because I liked like I think it was the second episode, because that's when you figure out what happened in his fight, and you see the eye, and then like the 3rd or 4th episode, you see it has fingers.
Yeah, right.
I want to see more things. They showed like replacing the armor, and then they showed like this thing clutching its head. So I want a little bit more of that, like so I can maybe infer something on my own. The other thing is they tease that these things can fist fight. With the second episode of it going berserk, and I want to see that. I want to see some
punching,
fighting, like not like Dragon Ball Z or something, but like a robot beating the shit out of another robot, or like something like that was fast paced. The first time I was doing it, I want a little bit more of that again. And then the last thing they showed that the Eva, the 01 that Shinji pilots, it has like a weird connection to him.
Right.
And it hasn't come up again.
Because it protected him that one time.
Yeah.
In other words, usually when we see the Evas take control, they're violent. They're just lashing out. But it seems like, there is some intelligence to what they're doing.
Yeah.
As opposed to just reacting with violence.
I want to see that come into play again. Mm-hmm. I'm like eager to, and I really want more payoff on those, because those are what really gripped me from the first 2 episodes.
Here's my favorite part is like I feel like I've watched like a whole season. It's only been 6 episodes.
Yeah, I know.
It's so like at the pace they're moving, like it feels slow, but it's actually quite quick at like dropping like these occasional hints here and there, and there will be a payoff. I can guarantee you that. I don't know. I can't remember when it's going to happen. But so far, I'm also like not upset that not everything has been shown me, because they've been showing other stuff instead and more things I want resolved. So like the show is naturally pacing itself to the needs of the viewer. There's the hidden stuff in the background, and then there's the stuff they're directly addressing. So you're kind of like, I want to know more about Rei. Oh wow, I'm getting 2 episodes dedicated about Rei. I want to know about, like, what happened with Shinji the Eva, and I'm getting that scene, like, right now. Like, it anticipates what's the viewer's gonna want to see next, and then, like, performs on it while still dropping those little tidbits here and there, being like, and this is to come.
Yeah.
And this is gonna be next. And that kind of planning is very intelligent. A TV show that I watch on Netflix is called Sense8, and it's one of those shows where I found myself being like, I wonder when this question's gonna get addressed. And like immediately, like a minute later, they start addressing the thing I was wondering about. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like a mind reader. Are you crazy? That's
yeah, I mean, I'm interested.
picturing you saying that like out loud while you're watching the show.
I was. I was watching it and I was like, and my roommate's like, what's going on? I'm like, it's like this show can read my mind.
I'm interested to see more of like what's happening behind the scenes and stuff, like things going on at NERV. Like before, like you said, like that show is like a mind reader to you. Yeah. I was starting to think like, what does NERV do?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, we're coming up with this big plan. It's like, okay, so there are people that do their job here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you'll probably recognize them more as it goes on, but if you like the certain people who like run certain like operations there, like it's always the same person.
Yeah.
You know, there's like that short-haired girl. That's always like Ritsuko's like right-hand girl.
Oh, yeah.
There's like that long-haired guy. There's the guy with the spiky Gohan hair.
What does Ritsuko do? Other than scuba dive, which is a hobby.
I guess she's the main person in charge of the Eva tech.
She's wearing a lab coat. You know what I mean? So I'd like to think that she's the scientist, which means she is presumably helps, like, the biology
when those plugs come unplugged, she's the one who can like help plug them back.
She's just yet to demonstrate that she does.
Yeah. Well, she was examining the remains of the angel that he killed last time, remember?
Okay.
So it shows that, she was working on, I guess she was studying the biology. Remember she showed the DNA?
And she even thinks Shinji, she's like, this is actually really intact. It's just the core that
I like how we're just like trying to like defend Ritsuko.
No, it's just because it's like, I can't.
Stuff. Well, she earns her pay.
We also didn't talk about her at all, where like, we've actually seen her appear like, not only in professional setting in these 2 episodes, but also in a casual setting.
Yeah, she was at that dinner.
Like, you see her bicker a lot with Misato, and then they're having dinner together. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like their relationships, it's a little back and forth, give and take. Like, you bicker at work, but in the end, you guys might be friends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense. They spend the whole day together. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna, you know.
Yeah, but they choose to continue spending time together, like, outside of work. Like, if you worked with someone you didn't like, then outside of work, you wouldn't talk to them.
Yeah.
But, like, now they're having dinner together and stuff like that.
Well, she totally knew that Misato made that food.
Right.
Like, so it's like, oh, she's been there before.
Like, she knows that Misato can't cook.
I also like, before we like forget to do it, the teaser for the next episode shows Misato doing stuff.
Yeah,
like more.
And now she can scuba dive.
Yeah, but like she's wearing like a space outfit, jumping from things.
Yeah, she had a cool outfit.
Yeah. So I just thought of it as like my crazy roommate, like just doing weird stuff.
My crazy space roommate.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what that is. Uh-huh. But then like it's probably going to be not as what I think it is, because the last teaser, the last teaser showed the penguin all heroic, and that's the only shot you see of him in that episode is him looking up at like the power going out.
It's gonna be a fun time.
I don't know, man.
Yeah,
every episode teaser just makes it look like this is a different show.
It's like they do show clips from the next episode.
Yeah,
but they don't portray what it's actually going to be about necessarily.
Even the narrator lies
like clever.
Shinji's gonna whine. He doesn't even whine that much.
I like
not
that.
nearly.
That was funny. It was also they realized that no one had like criticized Shinji that episode.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, we got to sneak it in somewhere.
The show's gonna criticize Shinji for the characters. And I think that's like another charm. Like you watch the to be continued like the next time in the next episode, and like it's not gonna be like whatever they're portraying. But then you're like, then what is it gonna be like? Yeah. I now know what it's not gonna be. Or will it be that way? Who knows?
After that scene of Shinji being on top of Rei naked, I'm surprised that wasn't part of like the next episode, like to make me go, what is happening in this show? Like,
well, remember that was the one that you said was gonna be like a dating sim, right?
You're right.
So it's like it kind of was, but not really.
Like, what is this? What is happening?
It's a dating sim, but if you hit all the wrong buttons, and also the game is broken.
Over.
all the wrong buttons is saying that you think your dad is trash and wearing his broken glasses.
Oh no, that wasn't the right.
And then the game is broken because it's not responding to you in any way. And then when it does respond to you, it's because you're hitting the bad buttons.
I'm excited. I don't know.
Rei is now an unsalted cracker and a broken video game.
Yeah, I think now she's a lightly salted cracker.
All right.
I think she's
salted.
She's also leveled up a little bit.
Okay,
right? She
I'll
smiled.
give her that.
She's a Doki Doki Literature Club character.
Here's the question: did she smile because she was happy, or did she smile because Shinji told her to? Because she
definitely gets she was happy.
They showed a flash of her seeing Gendo smile.
Yeah,
and then she smiled. So in one sense, that kind of reminds me of that things like sociopaths. They just have to mimic what other people see. So like they'll have to like practice showing emotion so that they can display emotions to other people. So in one sense it's that, but on the other sense maybe she just remembers something that she genuinely cares about, which we've established is Gendo, and then that's the feeling she's feeling now.
But she doesn't have any
Shinji.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Right. I was like, was she just reminded and like, oh, that was a nice thing that Gendo did to me that one time?
In a different world.
Yeah, it's like, this is like when Gendo did it.
Yeah.
But no, it's like feeling the same thing for Shinji.
When she was suiting up, this was a little earlier in the episode, and again, it showed, they played the clip of Gendo like, Rei, oh no, Rei, and then she just got a little smile on her face. I just thought it was kind of cute that like she just sits around thinking about like, oh, Gendo, what a nice guy. Like just in any situation, that's like the only thought in her head. Yeah, it's like either nothing, like her orders, or man, Gendo, that guy's awesome.
Man, he's so cool.
I can't place if she has like a crush on him or is just really like genuinely grateful.
It could be both. Like,
it's kind of creepy.
I mean, the way that she keeps the glasses a memento, I almost think kind of in the way Shinji was watching those people make out. Like, there's something strange and perverse about it, but it's also more like she just doesn't understand people, and she's almost like studying a situation.
I feel like that Gendo is her lifeline. Like, that is what is keeping her stable now.
Because
we didn't have anything keeping her stable beforehand, but now we got Gendo.
Yeah, and now presumably Shinji as well.
And hopefully Shinji.
Yeah.
She doesn't have any glasses from him, but, maybe she'll get like a lock of hair. One of those
vial of tears.
No, he needs those barrettes.
It's a vial of tears.
She has the two barrettes too.
Well,
so presumably that's like what.
Listen, if they
it's I looked up what those things are called. They're like neural links.
Oh, there you go.
Because I've been 3D printing a bunch of stuff lately at my work.
Are you gonna print some barrettes?
Yeah, well, I looked up Evangelion and it said neural links. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's connecting his mind to the machine.
God, I would wear
right.
them.
So when they do that thing where like they show all the different colors flash, like that's those little.
Yeah, it's like connecting to your brain.
Nodes are lighting up. Yeah.
Hold on. Now I want to see if there are neural links for sale because
they are definitely neural
without
links
a doubt.
Sale.
And also, don't buy them if I can just make them.
I think they come like little like you can literally just clip them in your hair.
Have you not seen the things I've been printing?
I've been seeing the things.
Now
I can make you something
nice. How Shinji's fits on his head because he just has short hair. I don't know how.
They must barrette clip in.
Yeah, but he doesn't even have hair long enough to do that. Too.
I've put barrettes in my hair. Yeah, you can't.
I can't.
You have no hair.
I have to wear it on my hair. I have to wear them on a headband.
Adorable.
Cute. Yeah. Wear
it. One thing I wanted to say is another cool detail in the show that they hadn't really shown before is that like you put on the suit and then you hit a button and it vacuum forms to you. That reminded me of Spider-Man Homecoming. When he puts on a suit and it vacuum forms to him. I know this came before.
I was going to say, technically, Neon Genesis Evangelion
first. Fucking nerd. Yeah, no, obviously. But it was neat detail because it's like those things are very tight fit.
Yeah, and it's like the world building. It's like the Ava operation. There's such a consistency. It's very clear that they've thought through all these processes before. So when you see them, it's like, even if you don't consciously make a note of each individual one, I think you would probably notice if it didn't match up. You know, kind of like you were saying, you were waiting for the liquid not to be an issue before.
Yeah.
But every time you see that orange stuff leak out of whatever they're
I was going to say that too.
Out.
When you see the thing eject both times, there's orange spraying out of the back of it. There's that scene where her link finally went correctly.
Oh yeah, she leans back
and bubbles come out. And I was actually like, man, there's some really good touches. One thing I want to say is, you said it's amazing how much NERV has thought about this. That's how good the world building is. You didn't say a writer or a concept artist. You said in fiction how they thought about it. I'm blown away that a writer and like team made a cohesive world to the point where Brad thinks it happened.
It's real.
It's real. It's a documentary. Did you not see Japan in 2014?
Can you tell them my figurines?
with the suits. It's like they even thought of things that I wouldn't even care to, like, how are the suits so skin tight? How do they get into them? Like, that's not a question that anyone would ask.
It would be something that you maybe think of on your third viewing if that wasn't there. It's like, man, those things are so skin tight. How are they getting into that?
It's like, it would be so easy just to never have a scene of someone putting on the outfit. Just like they're just suited up already.
But they went through the trouble
thing, and you even know where to push it on the wrist to make it tighten up. Yeah.
But what that did is, like, that scene isn't to showcase that.
Right.
That scene is to show Shinji and Rei having a conversation about what they're going through and what they're about to do, to give you further character development on both of them. But instead of it just being like, it could have easily been like a scene of him sitting on a bench, like in a locker room, and her silhouette changing like we saw, but it flipped sides and they were both doing something, like getting ready for it. So it's just added detail to make that scene just feel like, it's like they're getting ready, and it felt more genuine. And then, like, because when do you have a conversation just holding still?
Right.
Like, you're always like multitasking in these situations. I don't know. I think they're really good at like planning out these scenes. Like, there's never somebody just kind of holding still. Like, even the scene where Shinji's like embarrassed because he just saw her naked in this whole situation. She's getting dressed. She's not just like blankly staring.
Yeah.
Or all of a sudden dressed.
Yeah.
Like, there's movement, and it feels more alive than most things I've seen.
Yeah, and it's animated, which is the amazing part.
Yeah.
Too, because, I mean, I think because it's animated, it kind of encourages you to look at any of those movement details, because we know that they're all deliberate in a way that live action may not be deliberate. In other words, if there were two actors interacting, you could imagine, like, on the set, they're like, okay, how about I'm doing this while we're talking or something like that. Whereas animation, you know, everything had to be planned out because so much effort is put into all those little movements, into pushing the little button and animating the suit coming tight.
Isn't it crazy how when you actually put animation into animation, things matter?
Yeah.
But it's funny because they're just like a lot of animes, there's plenty of scenes in these shows where there's essentially still images. Well, you know, and they put dialogue over, but they're smart about how they use them in this show.
That's where, like, the important part is. So when you are animating, you really need to, like, budget your time. I'm gonna keep talking about budget because, like,
it's a big part of the process.
It's a big part.
It's a big part of what happens with this show, though.
Especially this show. So when you're working with animation, you have to pick scenes, what to animate and what not to animate. And then you have to kind of be smart about it because you need to take advantage of, like, everything. So they have the still scenes. When they have them for a reason. When there's animation, they have them for a reason. It's not just like still because they're lazy. It's not just super animated because, we want to blow our budget on this. Like, you gotta be picky and choosy. I've seen a lot of shows where they blow their budget on something and then
the rest of the show is
the rest of the show is
bad.
It's so bad. Like there's no animation. It's lots of still shots and then a lot of talking, but, like, the still shots don't mean anything.
Right.
It's not anything world building wise. Nothing is happening. It's just pretty scenery. That doesn't help me. I don't feel like I'm watching a world. I feel like I'm watching, like, oh, wow, you can really draw landscapes and backgrounds. Good for you. I don't care. You see, like, a lot of stuff like that, unfortunately, in a lot of, like, shonen jumps like Naruto.
Like a lot of new age stuff.
Yeah, a lot of the new
You'd expect it to be better.
But no, it's because, like, stuff like that is so, like, long and ongoing. You can't have every shot have a lot of detail into it, like this show, which only has, like, 1-2 seasons? Just one season. It's just one season.
Yeah.
You know, you get less quality and more quantity, but there's plenty of times in Naruto where they've got like several different animation teams, and I can tell when we're going to like...
when it switches to the good ones.
And then when we're going to like the long talking scene where it's just like still models jumping through trees, like going up and down, and then a lot of talking while they're traveling through the trees. Like, that happens so much. That's how they get their exposition out of the way. There's something creative about it. Happens every single time.
One show, I know this is getting off topic, but one show that does it well, in my opinion, for nostalgia mostly, but Dragon Ball Z found an excuse for the non-moving. Mm-hmm. It's because they're going so fast.
Yeah, right. So like, do the pan of like the background, and those be like little explosions.
Yeah,
everywhere. And
it's like, whoa, he's so fast.
But see, I mean, so nothing happening. That's like a silly way to do it. But I feel like even that is some thought put into it in a way that a lot of shows don't. So like in Eva, there might be just as many still shots as other shows, but the writers decided to be like, okay, well, we'll have a reason thematically why everyone is so still in this scene. We'll make it mean something to the mood of the scene or something like that. Yeah. Instead of like, well, we just got to do it because that's what time allows for us to do. We just got to
fill the time gap, or like, and that's why, as much as I will continue to not like this show, like artistically, directive wise, everything like that, it's really well put together. Like, really well put together. And I can see why a lot of people do like this show because of all the thought and consideration about things like budget and scenes and animation. Because a lot of shows nowadays, like, will kind of, like, brush that stuff off because, like, they'll brush down... They won't have, like, a great story, but they know they're going to have flashy, pretty animation, so it doesn't matter. I would rather watch a show that didn't have pretty... As much as I love animation, I'd rather have something have more of a substance, a good story, and not great visual effects, than something with incredible visual effects and a terrible story, because that just gets me upset even more. It's like all this amazing time and effort and talent is put into garbage!
Yeah, that's why I kind of like both. Cowboy Bebop has both.
Yeah, I like good visuals and good story.
Yeah,
well, yeah. I want both, but it's not a perfect world.
Well, that's why I like limited series and stuff. Like I'm liking Evangelion a lot. I haven't finished it yet. Obviously, I love Cowboy Bebop. It's limited. Fooly Cooly, IGPX, and Afro Samurai is really good. And Samurai Champloo. They're all like limited run, and they're so well. Stories are good, and the animation's great. And I think it's because they locked in, like, what kind of story do we want to tell? They, like, figure out an ending, and they just stick to it.
Yeah.
And it's a good balance.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
love
not
that
surprisingly, it's really hard to plan out a complete arc when you have an indefinite length, right? I mean, presumably those shows, they knew how many episodes they had to tell their story, and they're like, these are how we're going to space it to tell that story in a coherent manner. If you have something open-ended where, like, maybe there's another season, maybe there's not another season... Maybe it's this many episodes. Maybe it's this many episodes. How do you plan for that? You know what I mean? It's like you're setting yourself up for failure.
Well, here's another thing is, there's also, like, if you're doing an adaptation from a manga to an anime, as opposed to an original idea. So, like, story, shows like Naruto and all those shonen jumps I was talking about, they all have very strong beginnings. And it's those beginnings that get people watching and continue watching because it's well planned and thought out. But then, because a lot of those are adaptations of manga, you hit a point where the anime has caught up to the manga, and so the anime does one of three things. One, it takes a break and goes on a hiatus, which I feel like has been the most beneficial because it gives the manga time to catch up, but it can also cause the hype to die. That's the backlash. Two, they have filler episodes. And filler is...
Naruto has that shit.
Naruto has it, you know, One Piece has it, Bleach has it, everybody's got it.
Show, pretty much.
I mean, they're starting to do a lot better about the filler now because people are now sick and tired of it. But, you know, they'll have filler. And you can make filler good in some ways or bad. You can either focus on world building, character development, things like that, and then get back into the show. But there comes to a point where there's so much that you're just producing garbage. And then there's a third option, which is probably the rarest, where the anime will make up its own ending. Now, there has been 2 cases where I'm like, all for that, and then all not for that. And I think Neon Genesis Evangelion falls into that category as well, because their ending, like, the show ends, but it's not the creator's true ending because of their budget problem, and then they have, like, their real ending. There's Full Metal Alchemist that came out that has filler and has their own ending.
Like Brotherhood's the true version of it.
Exactly. And a lot of people will argue which one is better because they, with their own ending, they had such good original ideas that a lot of fans will defend that show. As opposed to this one show I like called Blue Exorcist, where like halfway through season 1, the manga wasn't caught up, so they made their own ending, and it was garbage. It was awful, to the point that when they finally made a season 2, the show's basically like, this is a continuation after the first half of season 1. They don't even acknowledge the fake ending, because it was that bad. And it's Neon Genesis Evangelion, they don't have a manga to go off of. This is an original idea. So, you don't have anything to compare it to other than itself. It's itself pretty impressive. Like, you're already over that boundary of like, oh, the manga isn't coming out.
Is it going to hold up?
Isn't going to hold up, yeah. So, they got that going for them.
Yeah.
Now it's just like focused on budget and how much are we able to show.
Yeah. And there's actually people, I mean, obviously we'll talk about this when we get to it. There's people who like the TV show ending better than the movie ending, believe it or not.
And you know what? I'm like excited to see both, because I did watch the TV show ending. I don't think I ever watched the movie.
Oh, what?
I know, right?
Whoa. Maybe I should watch it before you do. We can flip characters.
You can make it or break it for me.
It turns out Brad hates the movie.
I can see like the legitimate arguments behind that too. Just because with multiple endings, like you can have your preference as well. Like, oh, I like this one. And I prefer like argument over endings rather than like a consensual, this one sucked and this one's better.
Like you said, with Ava, because it's all the anime, it's that same creator throughout the whole thing. Unlike the manga adaptations, where there might be some debate over like, well, this is what the true quote unquote author's ending is. For Ava, it's like it's all canon or whatever that means.
You can only compare it to itself.
Right. So there's no this is the true ending, this isn't the true ending. It's completely kind of multiple choice at that point. Or maybe they're all the same ending in different perspectives, or all whatever bullshit you want to go with theory. But we'll get to that when we get to that. I think for now we're about wrapped up. Any closing thoughts about these episodes?
I am scared of the next session because
so far things have been going pretty good.
I already saw the title, okay? I already read the titles and I'm afraid.
I thought these episodes were a good change of pace.
Yeah.
Nobody was like mad at anybody.
Right. I think that this is kind of like almost like your reward for going through the sad episodes of Shinji just crying.
You did it!
On a train.
And now you can see Shinji
it wasn't that much.
Better.
Yeah.
It was completely justifiable.
Oh, no, I agree. But almost like, actually, I think Kenzie said this. It almost feels like this could just be a season of a show, episodes 1 through 6. And like, yay, we got our happy ending. But next time there she goes.
I had to do it at least once.
Next time we'll be back with Kenzie's favorite, Asuka Langley Soryu.
Oh, please.
We'll see you then. Goodbye.
Goodbye.